Kremlin's most outspoken figures are openly mocking the very idea of a Russian war with Europe. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev says Moscow has no strategic or political interest in such a confrontation, dismissing European warnings of a major conflict as fear-mongering.
In European countries, every outlet is broadcasting about a war with Russia within the next 5 years. There should be no such war, because it contradicts the interests of our country. Russia, in principle, does not need a war with anyone, including the frigid old lady Europe. There is nothing to gain there.
Medvedev accused Europe of self-destruction, collapsing under American pressure, crippled by weak leadership, and losing its identity through migration. He said Europeans themselves have no will to fight.
Europeans, for the most part, are inert and spoiled. They do not want to fight for any ideals, nor even for their own land. The probability of a fatal accident always exists, and the factor of hyperactive frozen idiots hasn't gone anywhere. Such a conflict carries a very real risk of escalating into a war involving weapons of mass destruction. Therefore, one must remain vigilant.
Medvedev insisted Russia's focus is domestic, rebuilding its lands and pursuing development. But he cautioned that reckless leaders or sheer accidents could still ignite a disastrous war with nuclear consequences.
Europeans, for the most part, are inert and spoiled. They do not want to fight for any ideals, nor even for their own land. The probability of a fatal accident always exists, and the factor of hyperactive frozen idiots hasn't gone anywhere. Such a conflict carries a very real risk of escalating into a war involving weapons of mass destruction. Therefore, one must remain vigilant.
On the diplomatic front, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov also pushed back, rejecting claims that Moscow deliberately targeted Poland with drones. At the UN, he accused Warsaw of hysteria and refusing honest dialogue.
On the very same day, as soon as the Poles started raising the alarm, our defense ministry proposed to hold a meeting, and as is proper for professionals, without any hysteria, sort out this situation, to look at the debris, to discuss what these drones are, what is their range. Once again, when they avoid an honest conversation, blaming you for everything, and to the proposal, let's sit down and figure it out. They say, no, we don't want to figure out anything. You know everything yourselves.
Lavrov said Russia has never targeted EU or NATO states and does not strike civilian sites, insisting its operations remain confined to Ukrainian military facilities.
We have nothing to hide. We never attack civilian objects. Incidents happen, but we never conduct targeted fire on them. We never direct our drones or missiles at European states, EU and NATO countries. I reiterate, if the Poles really wanted to figure this out, we would have immediately proposed a meeting. But no one ever wants to discuss the facts.
He then revived one of the war's most explosive controversies, the Bucha massacre. Lavrov claimed it was staged to smear Russia, accusing Western media of ignoring facts while broadcasting images of corpses.
After the Russian troops left Kyiv's suburbs, including the suburb named Bucha 2 days later, by a coincidental lucky chance, the BBC reporters demonstrated the world bodies lying neatly along the main Bucha street. I appealed to your journalistic zeal. Weren't you interested to discover who those people were, whose bodies were shown, what were their names, who were they? None of you conducted a journalistic investigation afterwards.
Between Medvedev's tirade and Lavrov's denials, the Kremlin is delivering a double message. Russia mocks Europe as too fractured to fight, while flatly denying any aggression toward NATO. But both warn that Western provocations and reckless mistakes could still spiral into a war no one can control.